In today's video, I'm heading into the Dollar Tree to pick up one of these lanterns they sell in their plus section. I'm also going to be picking up some florals and a few special friends that will help me create a one-of-a-kind piece of indoor or outdoor decor that is sure to make my nights and hopefully yours magical. So sit back and relax and let's get started. Hello, my friend. Welcome to another video. So, spring has finally sprung here in the Northeast, and I am in the mood to make some patio decor. So today I'm going to be taking a Dollar Tree lantern that I found in the plus section for $5 and some Dollar Tree products to create a magical mushroom and gnome garden that turned out beautiful. And guess what? It lights up, so you're not going to want to miss this. So the first thing I did was I got some of these little wood mushrooms from the Dollar Tree. And I also picked up a pack of their plastic plates because I needed something to hold the mushrooms up so that I could paint them more easy. And I knew the hot glue would pop right off of these plates. So I decided to glue them all down to the plate. And bonus for me, the little bit of hot glue that was on the wood popped off the wood as well. So that was great. So what I did was I put some hot glue on the bottom of each little mushroom and just stuck it to the plate. Again, it's just so I can paint these a little bit easier because I'm just painting the top parts of them. So now that I have two trays of two different shaped mushrooms, I'm going to take some red acrylic paint and I'm going to paint the tops all red. And then I'm going to use this puff paint, or dot paint, I should say, that dries a little puffy to make the little white dots on the mushroom heads. So very simple. Just go ahead and paint the tops of the mushroom with the acrylic paint, and then you're going to want to put some little white dots. Now, they don't have to be red. They could be any color that you choose because, again, this is art and this is your ideas. So make some purple mushrooms if you want. Anything is going to look great. So once I painted those, I got out that dot paint from Folk Art and just made some little dots of different sizes on top of the mushroom heads. Very simple to do. I bought myself a new patio table and a little side table, so I've been inspired to make some DIYs that I can enjoy when I sit out there on a hot summer night enjoying a cool beverage. And spoiler alert, this turned out to be one of my most beautiful creations I have ever made, and I've been making them for a very long time. So now that I got that done, let me show you some of the Dollar Tree decorations that I found that fit into my ideas. So I was into gnomes. I've never been into gnomes, but they're everywhere, it seems, this year. So I picked up all gnome and mushroom themed items. And here's the thing. Even though they are, the color that they come in the package, you're not stuck with that. I altered every one of these items to fit into my scheme. I also found these cute little guys at Hobby Lobby on clearance for $2. I believe it was $2.37 or something like that. But my main focus was now to change these into looking how I wanted them to look. So I got a beautiful gnome statue for $1.25. I pulled out my gesso and I started masking all of the colored areas that I did not like. For example, this green hat. I wanted everything to be mushroom themed and this didn't fit in. So all I did was cover it up with some white, let it dry. I did the same thing to this cute little gnome on the ladder. I didn't like the blue jeans, so I just painted it with some gesso to hide it. If you don't have gesso, you can use something like a heavy body white titanium paint will also work. But gesso, for me, is the way to go. And you can also make homemade gesso. It's pretty simple. You can find a tutorial on that on YouTube if you just search those terms. So after I was done painting everything white, I then decided I wanted to change the color of the actual lantern. So what I did was I took some of this stone accent Rust-Oleum paint. I sprayed it down with that off camera. Once that dried, I went over it with this white from Krylon. And this is what I got. I was looking for a concrete color. I did not like that gold color that it was. It looked really cheap. I wanted a concrete color that had a stone appearance to it. So what I did was I sprayed it off camera, and then I just took a little brown acrylic paint and scuffed it up a bit to make it look worn, and that's what I ended up with. I didn't film all that. It's very self-explanatory. So now I got some vine. It's like a roll of vine from Hobby Lobby for $3.99. And I cut pieces of it and I glued it on the inside. So my vision here was I wanted the gnome sitting inside almost like a gazebo that was taken over by beautiful moss and vinery and flowers, butterflies, ladybugs. That's what I had in my head, and this is how I was going to achieve it. So again, the inside borders, I just went around and glued down this vine, as you can see. And then I came back and I started adding in some moss from the Dollar Tree. Now, I had 3 different colors of moss from the Dollar Tree, and then I also had a package from Hobby Lobby. And I'm going to tell you this, the moss at Hobby Lobby is 20 times better than the Dollar Tree stuff. The Dollar Tree stuff just falls apart. This here is beautiful to work with. So that's just a little tip for you. But anyway, I had the Dollar Tree moss, so we're going to use that along with the Hobby Lobby brand. And we're just going to do kind of like patchwork. We're going to add in different colored moss in different sections, all on the ground floor and all up the sides, the insides, and the outside of the lantern. I'm going to just call it my gazebo from now on because that's what I'm thinking of. A gazebo in the middle of the forest with just moss and vines taking over everywhere. We want a magical fantasy scene to come out of this. Well, that's what I want anyway. When adding the moss, keep one side, preferably the back side, free of any moss until you get to the next step, which I'll explain. So I'm just using some hot glue to tack down that moss. And then I'm going to, like I said, come in with the different colored moss from Hobby Lobby and put little patches of that in everywhere. That's going to give it a lot of character. It's going to build some depth, some highlights. And here it is what it looks like after I fill the entire inside with it. Isn't that so pretty? And then, as I said, we're going to do the outside as well. So here is the outside, and you're going to notice that I left some areas alone, and that is where I'm going to be putting my focal points, some of my flowers, my butterflies, things like that. But before you start doing that, you have to put your lights in first. So I chose 2 sets of lights. I got them both at Hobby Lobby. They were pretty inexpensive. I chose a plain set of fairy lights and then this lighted leaf garland with little mini globes. And basically, I just put down some hot glue and laid the wire of the light right in it. I used the fairy lights on the inside, and then I used the globes with the vine on the outside. You'll also know I'm wearing gloves, and that's because I was burning my fingers, so make sure you wear gloves. So I just want to show you what I did here. I wrapped the lights around the gazebo side. I came up to the top and glued them down that back side, okay? And this way I could put the box either hanging behind it or I could glue it underneath the gazebo. But yeah, you always want to test your lights before you use them. I've installed lights without testing them, and you know what? They didn't work. So just make sure that you test them. I wish somebody would have reminded me of that. But again, do not put moss or anything on the back side of your little lantern because you need to run those lights down the back before you cover up with the moss. You want to be able to cover up as much of the light as you can. And as a matter of fact, this vine with the globes on it, this little strand of lights, I wasn't really happy with the green showing so much, the green wire, but it is what it is. I would have used just regular fairy lights and covered them up if I could do it again, but it worked. I can also cover a lot of that wire with more moss or, some floral decorations, things like that. But anyway, I got my lights on. Now it's time to move on to what's going to make this pop. And we have some floral from Dollar Tree. We have floral from Hobby Lobby that was on sale. And so I decided to go with this big, beautiful rosebud. Not bud, a rose. And I cut the stem off. And then I'm going to glue it right into the front of the gazebo there, the lantern. And then I'm going to surround it with some little roses. So it was really, really bringing it all together between the red floral and the red of the mushrooms and the characters that you're going to be seeing in a minute. It all went together beautifully. I really hope you're enjoying the video and you stick around to see the end because I'm not lying, it is gorgeous. Now, you may be questioning, okay, Tammy, you're building this for your patio. You got moss on it. You got lights. What if it rains? What about the outdoors? Well, here's the thing. I have a covered patio, so it'll be all right out there. But if you want to do something like this, I would not recommend leaving it outdoors in the elements because it's just going to get ruined quick. So if you have a nice lanai, if you live in Florida, or a screen and porch in the Northeast, it'll be great to put it out there, okay? So anyway, I'm putting on these butterflies I found at Hobby Lobby now. I thought they would go along beautifully with the little roses and the lily of the valleys. So I plopped one there, and then I put a few around the body of the lantern. I also found these little inexpensive ladybugs at Hobby Lobby. Hobby Lobby has a lot of inexpensive crafts that you can find. So always be sure to look around for clearance items. So here's our little guy that once was green and now has a beautiful mushroom hat. All I did once it was dry was this. I painted the hat red and just put some polka dots on it with the white paint. All of the pieces that you have seen me alter were all done the same. Even this little guy with his little suspender farmer pants there, farmer jeans. I even took a couple of wood slices and I painted the tops red and put little polka dots on them. And my table I painted. You can see everything has changed from the way it looked before to the way it looks now. The little table I painted white and made a little mushroom center on it. Now I ended up not liking these stools, so I changed it around to where I painted them white and put red polka dots instead. But yeah, even this little gnome, I painted the shirt white and put little red polka dots. Cute little birdhouse, pathway. Just like, again, you're never really stuck with what you buy when it comes to crafting. You can alter things in so many different ways to make them look the way you want. But anyway, here are the stools. Like I said, I took 2 slices and glued them together and just decorated the top. They're going to be the seating at the little mushroom table. Also, for this hole in the lantern, there used to be a ring there to hold it. I removed that. I'm going to put a big butterfly there. But now I'm just setting my pieces in. Now you can put them in permanently with some hot glue and some strong, like Gorilla Glue. or you could just set them in there and, change the scenery around here and there. So I put that guy in there. I'm putting some of the mushrooms inside with him. And here is what I came up with so far. Look at how beautiful this is. Now, I have something to tell you in a second here, but let's check this out. I stuffed some mushrooms up into that the rose floral area. I have the ladybugs. I have the lily of the valley, some little baby's breath. I got all kinds of things on there so far. But in the end, I had leftover Dollar Tree things that I painted, and it was really bothering me that I went through all that trouble and didn't use them in this piece. So I had a solution for that, which you're going to see next. But let's just take a moment to look at this and how pretty it is. I am going to show you it at nighttime. This is not my patio, by the way. It's a small back deck. But anyway, I will show you it at nighttime. The little gnome guy sitting in there with the bird bath and his little mushrooms all surrounding him. Butterfly friends on the outside, little ladybugs. I think it's really, really adorable. However, breaking news. I altered the bottom of this. I had this piece of wood laying around that I wanted to use. And so I said, let's go even further. I got all those pieces I painted and we're going to do this. So I glued that down to that board with some strong Gorilla Glue and some hot glue. I then took some Mod Podge, and this time I laid the moss down in that versus using the hot glue, just because I felt it was easier to do a big patch this way. And so what I did was I put some moss down, and then I came back with some Mod Podge and went over it to kind of like seal it in. Now, I will say doing that, it doesn't look as fluffy as like when I did it with the hot glue. But this Dollar Tree moss, again, was very, it's not the best, okay? So it was very crumbly, and I felt like this held it together. So I just put a little Mod Podge in a cup with some water, thinned it down, and kind of just sponged it on top to seal it in. Once I was done with that, I was now going to place down my ornaments that I painted here, the little settings like the table and the stools that I made. I'm also going to put one of those gnomes I found at Hobby Lobby. I glued him to the stool and was going to set him next to the table. So now I got my birdhouse, my archway. I got this fence I found at Hobby Lobby for like $2.49, was it? Yep, $2.49. I'm going to fence the entire thing in just by using some hot glue around the edge here and pushing the fence up against it. And now I'm going to show you the finished results. I'll go over the fencing with you during the final scenes here and explain exactly how I did it. So here's what I decided to add on to the original design because, as I said, I had bought all those things and worked hard to paint them, and I wanted to use them. So this step is optional. But here, I took that white fence I got from Hobby Lobby and just put some hot glue around the border of that piece of wood that I built this on top of and pressed it up against the edge there. It was very simple to do. But here you can see all my little pieces that I altered from the Dollar Tree. Again, this is just optional. I would have been happy with just the lantern decorated. And seeing those wires on that one strand of lights that I bought, I'm not very happy with. But it is what it is sometimes, and I'll figure out a way to stop focusing on those little things. But yeah, it turned out so beautiful, and like I said, most of this came from the Dollar Tree, other than that bright green moss and the lighting. Everything else was from the Dollar Tree. Oh, and the fence was from Hobby Lobby as well. But again, I went a little overboard with purchasing items from the Dollar Tree. I didn't need to do all of that. But, you do you. Create something that you will love. I decided to take some footage here when the sun had set because it was so bright out. So you could see the colors really good there. And now I'll show you what it looks like right before it gets pitch black out. It's just so, so pretty. That would look beautiful in the center of your patio table or anywhere in the house if you're into this type of thing, you know. I just think it's pretty cool. And this idea was sparked from a Dollar Tree lantern. How about that? So anyway, my friends, that's it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed it and found some inspiration in it. Be sure to come back next week. I have a new technique I'm going to be doing, and if this works out, it's going to be fantastic. Don't forget to check out the description for ways to follow me, links to products that I used in today's video, and other information. If you are not subscribed, please consider doing so, and if you want to click that like button and leave a comment, even if it's just a heart emoji, I would truly appreciate it. That helps my channel tremendously, and it tells YouTube, more importantly, that you're enjoying the content. I love this little ladder guy here. He's so adorable. I kind of just hung him off the wire there because, you know, you want to be able to move things around and rearrange them, so why not? But anyways, thank you so very much for joining me. I love you all, and until the next time, happy creating.